Welcome, everyone, and my name is Shannon Edgett. I am here as a mindset coach. I have been mindset coaching off and on in various formats for a long time, but only really calling myself a mindset coach in the last year or two. I've been helping people gain clarity and get really crystal clear on the steps they need to proceed in their lives. So here I am to present to you today the topic of imposter syndrome. Now, I wanted to start there because whether you are a brand new coach or entrepreneur, or you've been at it for a really long time, imposter syndrome comes and goes. It shows up in so many different forms, on so many different wavelengths, and it can really mess with you. It can really screw up what you've got going for you. Now, I wanted to start by saying there's a lot of people who struggle with imposter syndrome. Um, the range is all over the place, and you've probably heard of some of these people. Uh, we've got Tom Hanks. If you're not familiar with his work, you might know him as the guy who played Forrest Gump. Lady Gaga, the one that wore the meat suit, she has a fabulous quote. I still sometimes feel like a loser kid in high school, and I just have to pick myself up and tell myself that I'm a superstar every morning so that I can get through this day and be for my fans what they need me to be. Lady Gaga, one of the most famous pop stars. Serena Williams, a phenomenal tennis star. Maya Angelou, civil rights activist, author, poet, phenomenal woman, struggles with imposter syndrome. Howard Schultz, the guy who's the CEO behind Starbucks, he's a massive man in business, struggles with imposter syndrome. So I want to make it clear that imposter syndrome isn't something that you all by yourself are struggling with. Now, you might not be familiar with what imposter syndrome is. So I wanted to share a definition of sorts. It's the idea that you only succeed due to luck and not because of your talent or qualifications. Essentially, you are unable to internalize your successes and your achievements. And you're kind of struggling to figure out how you are where you are. You might think everyone has it so easy and they've figured it out and they've got it all put together, and no one is struggling the way you're struggling. Therefore, you're an imposter. Now, there's not one specific cause. There's all sorts of reasons people believe imposter syndrome can start in someone. Low self esteem and anxiety, the stresses of life, things that are currently in your personality, your family influences. So if you grew up in an environment where you were constantly being grilled on your performance, why didn't you get an A plus? You only have an A. Or your sister is performing so well, why can't you be more like her? If you were pushed to excel and exceed, there might be an inclination to think it's not possible for you to be successful. Perfectionists tend to be rampant, full of imposter syndrome, because success and perfection is never attainable, which is a topic we'll talk about another day. Personal beliefs like I need to achieve in order to be accepted or loved. And the idea of social acceptance, needing to belong, needing to fit into a group of people or society. So all of these could be sources which might be creating imposter syndrome for you, but there's not one specific source. You can't narrow it down into like this one incident or doing that one thing or taking this one pill. It comes from all sorts of influences, which is why it's a really personal experience to overcome it. Now, if you do struggle with imposter syndrome, you could have it showing up in all sorts of ways. And it's something that you need to take a look at because it's going to stop you from taking action in your business. It might even stop you from starting something. You might have spent the last 2 years going like, how do I start this really great idea I have? well, it needs to be perfect because like I don't really know what I'm doing. So in order to even have a chance, I've got to like really mull this over. And you spend so much time and energy just trying to investigate. You never actually do. And then you never succeed because you've never started. Another thing is it can niggle at your confidence, your trust in your ability, your belief that you can actually achieve. And your customers, your clients, your investors, all these people, they're going to feel that. They're going to see that. So if you don't have confidence in yourself, sometimes it's hard to sell yourself to those that you want to deliver your service to. And it's quite possible you'll self sabotage because you don't think it's possible for you to be successful, or you think that you're an imposter amongst people who are successful. You might be like, I don't have a chance. I need to keep myself safe, and subconsciously you'll hold yourself back. You'll keep yourself from really achieving and doing the things that you could potentially be doing. So one of the things I want to throw out there, because sometimes we look at all these other people who are achieving and succeeding, we don't know what's going on for them. We don't know who they have supporting them. We don't know what's behind them, how much time they spent working on an idea. We have no clue. It might be something that comes easy to them. They might have spent hours, thousands of hours of research and engineering. But if you find a path with no obstacles, it probably doesn't lead anywhere. And that was a quote by Frank Carl, pointing out that if you're not encountering a little bit of difficulty, you're probably not heading into new territory. And how's that adventure going to be for you? You're not doing something new and exciting. You're not exploring something that hasn't been done. Now, because imposter syndrome could be so many different things for so many people, there's many different things you can do to approach it, to take it on. But the first one, like most situational things with the mind, is to identify it. When you get into that concept, that idea that you might be struggling with imposter syndrome, acknowledge your feelings. Be like, okay, I'm feeling some insecurities here. I'm feeling like I'm not good enough. I'm feeling like I don't belong in this group of people. I'm swimming with sharks and I'm not a shark. Um, Identify what those insecurities are. Get clear about the thoughts that are going through your head. Now, like I kind of emphasized earlier, give yourself permission to think and feel those thoughts. You're human. You are feeling and thinking natural things. Nothing that's coming up is unnormal. You are exploring something new. You're trying to exercise a muscle that's never been exercised. It's going to be a little uncomfortable. And if you need to talk to someone, find support. Reach out, and they might be able to help shift perspectives and help you see things you might be struggling to see. So that's step one, identify. Step two, get neutral. So you've spent some time, you've gotten clear what's going on, what are the thoughts that are popping in my head, what are my worries and fears, my insecurities. Separate fact from feeling. Now, that's easy to say and often harder to do. But when you have a thought that's popping up for you, you need to take a moment and go, okay, what is the emotion in this? Am I being rational with this thought? Is it logical? Is it feeling? What is happening here? So let's say you feel stupid. You're in a room with a bunch of people and you're going to need to give a presentation, or even might not even need to give a presentation. You're just in a room with a bunch of people who are experts in their field. For some reason, you're there too. Why are you there? You got invited. You bought a ticket. You had interest. There's an expertise in you. Okay, I feel stupid. I'm in a room of people who are smarter than me. Okay, is that true? Do you feel stupid, or are you stupid? Chances are, if you're in the presence of all these people, you're smarter than somebody. You have more intelligence in some aspect. You're an expert in something many of those people are not. So that's a feel that's popping up for you. It's a feeling. It's like an insecurity of like, oh my God, I'm not enough, and I need to diminish myself, and I feel stupid. So it's not true. It's not based on fact. You have not conducted a poll of IQ levels of the people in the room. Perhaps you've taken your IQ test, perhaps you haven't. You don't actually know. So diffuse that thought. That thought is not based in logic. Now, if you are in a place and you're in a situation that's awkward and uncomfortable, um, you need to realize this is all part of the learning curve. When we do something we're not familiar with, we don't have the memory, we don't have the habit formed or the information to approach it. So we're uncomfortable. We're out of our comfort zone. It's new territory, and we don't necessarily have all the tools to handle the situation. The discomfort is just part of you being in a new environment, in a new place, and flexing, like I said earlier, new muscles. Again, back into separating fact from feeling. When we often encounter what we feel is a failure, we degrade ourselves. We get emotional, we put ourselves down, and we forget to look at what is actually being presented to us. And it's simply data, it's information. Okay, I did a thing, and these are the results of that thing. You can pick it apart and look for what failed, what piece, what word, what situation, what offering. It's not necessarily about you. Sure, you may have been the host, you may have been the person to write the content, but it's simply an opportunity for improvement. It's a place that you can pull and go forward. So shift your perspective about failure. Get neutral on it. You're not an imposter. You're a scientist. You're doing research. Confucius has a great statement. Our greatest glory comes not from never failing, but rising every time we fall. Bring that mindset into how you approach your mistakes and things that aren't quite meeting the expectations you set out for yourself. Which brings me to the next part of it. Look at things objectively. Rational, irrational. Your inner critic, the one that rips you apart and tells you you're not good enough, you're not doing the things you need to be doing, it's actually just trying to protect you. It's trying to help you stay in its comfort zone, stay where it's safe and familiar. Anytime you venture into something unknown, you're taking a risk. And that risk could be rejection, it could be, long-term caveman thoughts, death. It's just trying to hold you into a space it knows it's safe. So it criticizes you, it holds you back, it diminishes you. Go, I got this, we're taking a risk, but this is what we're hoping to learn here. Work through those thoughts. Be aware of those thoughts as well. Sometimes there's truth, like the concept of I'm the stupidest one in the room. Maybe you're not stupidest. Is that even the articulate way to say that? But you might be the odd duck. You might be in a room filled with, scientists and doctors, and you just maybe are a surveyor. You perhaps haven't done the same level of education or specialization. That doesn't mean you don't belong. It just means that you don't fit in that set group of people. And that might be the thing that's setting you apart, making you feel like an imposter. Okay, that's valid. You are a little bit of an imposter. That doesn't mean you don't fit, you don't belong, that your expertise isn't valued. Valerie Young has a phenomenal TED Talk addressing all of this. I really recommend checking it out if you can. But she has a particular quote about approaching such situations. Instead of, oh my God, everyone here is brilliant and I'm not, go with a thought like, wow, everyone here is brilliant and I'm really going to learn a lot. I love that approach, that attitude. And if you can put that into the work and how you see situations in your life, it's going to make a really big difference. The third thing you can do to combat imposter syndrome is to reflect on success. A lot of people who struggle with imposter syndrome cannot identify when they've had achievement, or they brush off their level of achievement. So when you reflect on success, it gives you a little bit more cred with yourself. You can look at your credentials, your expertise, the trainings you've done. An exercise I get some of my clients to do is to sit down and list every single achievement and accomplishment they've ever had in their life. That could be winning gold at the spelling bee in grade 2. It could be getting their doctorate in a certain program. Whatever you have done, minor as it might seem, or massive, compile a list of everything you've achieved. Go to that list when you're not feeling so strong and capable. And you're going to see that you are someone who's accomplished. Now, a lot of you might go, oh, I have nothing to put on that list. I haven't earned any diplomas. I haven't achieved anything. I beg to differ. Go talk to your parents. Go talk to some of your friends. What am I really good at? How have I supported or accomplished things in my life? Another suggestion, post on your social media. Make the comment like, if you heard I wrote a book, what would you assume the topic would be on? And wait and see what people say. You're going to get a list of all sorts of people who think you're an expert on that topic. Don't be surprised. You're an expert. You just sometimes might struggle to acknowledge that. Now, the fourth step, when you've kind of gone through your thoughts, you've tried to get neutral, you are struggling with feeling like you're confident, is simply to double check. Check in with yourself. Am I being perfectionist here? Am I setting reasonable goals and expectations for myself? And if you're struggling to get clear on that, ask a friend. They're going to be like, whoa, man, you're putting too much on your plate. Slow down. You're not Superman, even if you might want to be. The last step in combating imposter syndrome is to learn how to take a new approach. This is where shifting your mindset is really important. We've identified what you might be struggling with, where you might be coming through. We've gotten clear on some of the tools you can use and tap into to help you make the change. But this is the thing, you have to take the new approach. You have to incorporate it into your life. And the first piece is to be gentle. This is where inner critic can be really rough. It likes to push you down and tell you you're not good enough. Treat yourself the way you would treat, a 4 or 5-year-old kid learning a new skill. Would you scream and yell at that kid for not trying hard enough? Or would you nourish them? Now, I'm not going to get into parenting discussions about, appropriate behavior, but you want to take the approach of nourishment and gentleness and patience. You can't expect yourself to figure it out like that. You might want to, but trial and error is part of learning. You might have a disposition to be really good at picking things up. You need to be patient. Sometimes you might not understand something at the drop of a hat. Another piece is to look at your mental rule book. We all walk around with a set of rules in our brain about how life works and how we need to perform in life. Look at what rules you have for yourself and challenge them. You might believe something like, I have to know all the answers. Who said? Why? Is that something you still want to be true? I don't know about you. I like knowing all the answers, but I don't have all of them. And I'm not afraid to say, hey, I need some time to research that, and I'm going to get back to you. Would you rather work with someone who instantly could spout off something, whether it's true or not, or would you rather know for sure someone's going to give you the best information? Think about that for yourself. Do you have to know all the answers? Do some digging work if you need to discover where that might be coming from. And again, ask yourself, is this a rule I need to live by? Is this doing me good? Maybe it's time to shift it. Another really common one, I must do it alone. I can't rely on anyone else to help me. I can't ask for help. Who says? Do you think you're going to be a successful business pulling in 6, 7, 8 figures at some point if you don't hire someone to help you out with things? That is definitely a rule I would recommend shifting if that's one you have in your books. Another exercise you can give yourself when you're looking at how to shift your mental approach is to visualize. Now, visualization is not something everyone has the ability to do, but if you do have the ability, I recommend closing your eyes and taking some time to visualize the life that you want for yourself, the thing you would like to be an expert in, the sense of belonging and community that you want to create for yourself. The more you can imagine the faces of the people, the clothes that you're wearing, the way you feel on the inside in that situation, the more authentic, the more real it will feel. And visualization is a phenomenal tool to help you step into and familiarize yourself with a potential reality. Athletes do it all the time. They will visualize running a race that they're going to later. They'll visualize the motions of their muscles, the turns of the track, crossing the finish line. They'll visualize it. And it has been studied. It helps them perform better. So give yourself that exercise. Give yourself that opportunity to step up and take some time to visualize the life that you want to create for yourself. It'll help you with your goal setting, but it's also going to help you with your confidence and your sense of belonging as you're tackling imposter syndrome. Another approach that I highly recommend is to reward yourself. I can't stress this enough. A lot of us in the entrepreneur space go, go, go. We don't take time to enjoy. We don't reward ourselves for what we have accomplished because there's so much more to do. But you need to pause sometimes and go, job well done. Here's a treat. That could be buying yourself a coffee, going on a vacation, whatever spectrum of reward it is for you. But if you're not rewarding yourself, your body is not going to produce dopamine or serotonin or the happy drugs that help motivate you. So when you reward yourself, it's a job well done. It's a pat on the back, and it's a way of producing success within yourself as you're taking those steps. And it helps you feel, again, like you belong and you're doing the right thing. Now, the last tip when you're dealing with imposter syndrome is controversial, but can be very effective. And it's simply faking it until you make it. Now, I'm not saying make up a doctorate if you want to be a doctor, but faking your confidence level, faking that you do belong among a group of people, that part can create truth for you, can get your foot in the door. You might not believe you belong, but if you act like it, no one's going to know any different. And that will create the community and the connections and push you forward as you're working through your imposter syndrome. Tom Hanks, again, as I mentioned, someone who struggled with imposter syndrome, said, no matter what we've done, there comes a point where you think, how did I get here? When are they going to discover that I am, in fact, a fraud and take everything away from me? I don't think anyone's done that to him yet. You know, he's still pretty successful and still regarded as one of the world's best actors. So take on your imposter syndrome. You have more skill than you give yourself credit for. You have the ability to achieve everything that you want in your life. You just have to believe you can. So thank you for joining me today, and I hope to speak to you again soon.